Ghostly Galaxy is a great continuation of the haunted levels from the previous Mario games. It's kind of funny the way our tastes evolve over time. When I was younger, I could not stand any haunted theme, especially considering the haunted themes generally come with some form of a puzzle or a search. I wanted to just run through the stage. I was playing Mario because it was a platformer. I was playing Mario for the cheeriness, playing it for the upbeat music, and most importantly, playing it for the green grass and the blue skies. As early as back in the classic era, I used to dread any time I get to one of these ghost levels. And it wasn't even just in Mario either. I just think the haunted vibe never really appealed to me when I was younger. I don't think I was scared. Maybe subconsciously that had something to do with it, not sure. But in general, I think the media I consumed would often be more along the lines of comedies rather than horror flicks. And I think that applied to my gaming experiences as well. However, at some point that completely shifted. My enjoyment of horror flicks probably just came about through desensitization of all the gory stuff, and in general enjoying the mystery and the psychological thriller aspect of things. And on a similar note, I think my enjoyment of ghost levels specifically in Mario are also tied with that problem solving and mystery aspect of it. I think it took me a long time to get there, but I did eventually start enjoying my 2D platformers to be more than just platformers. Metroidvanias, for example, are a genre that I could not stand when I was younger, but now I'm obsessed with them. And likewise, I think the added challenge that's generally implemented into these ghost levels makes them more enjoyable for me. And that could be as far back as the ghost houses in Mario World, but it also applied in Boo's Haunted Mansion in 64, and especially in Serena Beach in Mario Sunshine, which if you remember I said was probably my favorite stage in that game, which is why coming into Ghostly Galaxy I was very excited. Perhaps even more excited because of how simple a lot of the game up to this point was. I was optimistic that the same way Serena Beach flipped the script and caused me to start searching in a level for the first time in Sunshine, Ghostly Galaxy might contain the uptick in difficulty that I was looking for. The results were not what I expected, but we can discuss that after I go through the missions. Also, I should note that I absolutely love the visuals here. Even before you enter the stage, the mansion model with a piece of meat next to it. Turns out a haunted theme does very well in outer space. And they got the music spot on too. A remix of a classic theme with an eerie touch? Sign me the hell up. And then the first mission right off the bat is Luigi and the Haunted Mansion. As if I didn't need any more nostalgia pandering. Now, up until this point in the previous segments, anytime we got to a Luigi star, I always mentioned that you'd have to go to those after Luigi is unlocked. Luigi kind of gets unlocked twice in this game. In the context I was saying it, I meant that you would free him from this mission, which means you would get the Luigi missions as unlockable now. But he actually does get unlocked at the very end of the game after 120 stars, but that's a discussion for later. Also, previously when we spoke to Captain Toad, he mentioned that they had gotten lost with Luigi after the castle was stolen. So I like that at the start of this mission you start on one of the Toad Brigade ships. But really, the level starts on this platform up here. It's got a real Van Helsing vibe to it, Goombas with pumpkins on their head, hanging spiders, and I just love all the general bones all around for some reason. There's this twisty stone bridge that you gotta cross to get into the mansion, and I always appreciated how the camera gets right up behind Mario to make it a little bit more intimidating, even though really all you're doing is moving to the side so a chain chomp can roll past you. Once you do make it inside the mansion, there's a switch you can flip, and that flip turns on a bright spotlight so you can use that to defeat all the boos, primarily the one that holds a key. In the next area, you're trying to collect the different pieces of a launch star, but you have to use these little ramps to be able to walk on the walls and ceiling. I like this because although this mission takes place indoors, they still find a way to remind you that you are playing a game with a gravity gimmick. And really highlighted by these mini black holes in front of your face. The launch star will take you outside of the mansion and bring you to a balcony on one of the higher floors. It also gives you a nice visual of the whole setting itself. And it also lets you see a caged off Luigi. So of course you gotta take yourself inside, but in order to do that you gotta grab the key, which involves dropping yourself into a pit and grabbing the pool star fast enough. After that you just gotta traverse through the hallway until you get to one of my favorite power-ups in the entire franchise. I don't know if there's a single transformation of Mario that looks as appealing as this one does to me. I feel like I need to buy a Boo Mario plushie. I don't even know why I like it so much. I think it's the nose. Anyway, as Boo Mario, you're able to get around pretty easily, being able to float upwards with relative ease. All you really gotta do is dodge the light, and tap the jump button over and over again to increase in your elevation. You also can briefly go invisible, which allows you to sneak through grates and windows and such. which is more or less all you really gotta do here to get to Luigi, and he'll give you your first power star. Which is a shame because I think as the first appearance of a new power-up, they really should have put more emphasis on the actual power-up itself. Similar to how the first B Mario mission really had you getting comfortable with it. But yeah, the whole thing is, at this point in the game, Luigi is helping you look for the stars, which is why he'll get lost every now and then, and he'll send you a picture saying come and save him, and that's what those hidden stars come from. This next star is kinda fun. Almost as much as I enjoy Boo Mario, this actual Boo with a helmet is equally as appealing to me. Your second objective is a race against the safety first Boo. You'll notice the twisted walkway is gone, so instead you'll be using pool stars to get to the mansion. But before you make it there, a launch star will blast you off into the sky where you'll meet up with the Boo. Now, I think the appeal for these pool stars for me is when you're trying to go fast, it could get pretty fun. The way the momentum carries you, if you know when to let go and when to grab the next bubble, makes it super intriguing. It's a similar idea of when you're swinging across with Spider-Man. But I think in general, the way it tests your reflexes with the motion controls makes it a little bit more unique. I'm pretty sure this race took me 2 attempts to get through, and I am almost certain that a lot of people hate this one. But as somebody who appreciates a good motion or pointer control challenge, I don't mind it at all. I like to be tested, and I like to feel engaged. Also, I think it's fun to try to grab stars that are further ahead, as well as how you can quickly grab a star to save yourself when your bubble bursts. All in all, in my opinion, this is a good challenge, and it's a fun race. The third star is Beware of the Bouldergeist, and I think this is one of the better boss battles in the game. This time when you enter the stage, the bridge has a more hilly form to it, and the chain chomps back so you gotta dodge it to get into the mansion. The inside of the mansion has changed too. The stairs are gone and they're replaced with a painting of a black Boo. The trick with these Boos is that you can grab them by the tongue and swing them around, and they'll basically continue to swing around until they slam into something and blow it up. A very unique weapon and fun one to use in my opinion. I honestly think that between the 3 gimmicks of the stage so far, those being the pool star and the Boo Mario, this one might be the funnest. Once you slam the explosive Boo into the Bowser statue that's in front of the chimney, you're able to take the launch star to the next segment. After that, the challenge is flinging yourself up the walls with these web contraptions, and the challenge continues with the requirement to collect the pieces of the blue star. After that, you get to this bizarre, fun, bouncy ball section. You basically have to trampoline yourself into a launch star while avoiding the spike balls, and then you finally make it to the Bouldergeist. I'd say this one is pretty challenging, but most of the challenge comes from being able to control the swinging Boo. The Bouldergeist will launch rocks at you, and one of the rocks will turn into the exploding Boo. So you gotta swing into the Bouldergeist, destroy all of the boulders that are around it, and knock it straight into the tongue, I think. I believe it takes 2 or 3 hits to get there, and then the Bouldergeist comes back, only this time it's got massive fists. The challenge just gets a little bit more difficult, there are more attacks, but what's even worse is there are more objects to hit now instead of the Bouldergeist itself. So you'll spend a lot of time dodging and waiting for the black Boos to come out, and then when you finally do get a hold of the black Boo, there are just so many things that it can bump into. Luckily, the hands of the Bouldergeist could also be defeated, so you just smack them a few times by accident, they'll be gone out of your way. But the downside to that is that they will eventually respawn. You can also technically grab 2 of the black Boos at once, but it could be tricky to do so because if they slam into each other, you lose them both. But the payoff is a double hit. All in all, I don't know if this one is necessarily a good boss fight, but it's more enjoyable for me than a lot of the other ones before it. And the only reason I say that is because I think a lot of how long it takes relies on luck, which even then I would normally be okay with, but it could be very frustrating to wait for the black Boo only to grab it and it just slams right into the first boulder next to you. But for me, that's usually part of the fun. I don't know, I think I just like what people conceive as bad game design sometimes. If nothing else, there's always the spectacle of this fight to praise. And I hope you liked it, because we're gonna do it again. Because the Comet Star is the Bouldergeist's Daredevil run. And if you didn't think it was fun enough the first time, try it again with a single hit point. There obviously isn't much that I can add to the discussion here, but unlike many of the other fights, I did take a decent amount of damage on this one the first time, so I was more concerned while going into it. It doesn't become painstakingly terrible or anything, but having to actually focus on your defenses makes this a lot more enticing. Pretty sure I beat it on my second attempt, but on my first attempt I died pretty late onto the fight. And then finally, the 5th star is the Hidden Star. At the start of one of the missions, you might have noticed a glowing stone in the corner. I think some people might actually accidentally do this one prior to the later ones. This one is just an all-around fun platforming challenge. You're running through a stage that has disappearing and reappearing platforms all around, having to maneuver to grab keys and dodge Boos and the like. It starts off simple enough, it's more or less an auto-scroller in this regard. but you do gotta be quick enough, otherwise you'll fall behind and lose a life. But as you progress, platforms will get smaller, routes will be a little bit more dynamic, you'll be required to stay on your toes more than you expect, especially when you start moving upwards and have to collect keys to unlock doors. You'll be waiting for different parts of the stage to appear so you can perform a wall jump. And like I said, you gotta be quick. When I grabbed the star, there wasn't much time until the floor would have completely disappeared. Now obviously, the only star remaining is the purple coin star, and we'll be grabbing that later after the Bowser fight. But looking at it strictly from the first 5 stars, I genuinely do believe this does a very good job implementing the whole spooky theme in outer space. I think it's a level worthy of comparison to some of the previous Ghost stages. I really appreciate just how gimmick-filled it is. Between the Boo Mario, the Pool Star Race, the Spiderweb flinging, the Boo Bomb swinging, and the whole linear platforming challenge. Add on to that the theme of the whole stage, and I think this makes for a very memorable galaxy. If there's one downside I might find is that many of these gimmicks are done better elsewhere. I mean, we basically saw nothing of Boo Mario so far. But in fairness, a lot of these gimmicks in this game are introduced in the larger galaxies and then focused more on into the smaller galaxies. That being said, I think if you put this one side by side with the 15 main galaxies, it definitely stands out, and in a good way in my opinion. I don't imagine I'll be ranking it as a top galaxy like I did with Serena Beach, but I think it definitely falls into the mid or upper mid range like Boo's Haunt did. And compared to the ones before it, this one might be my favorite one so far. But I'm not sure yet, I'll have to think about that at the very end. For now, let's head over to Gusty Garden Galaxy.